Just making sure that, all right, there it is. So today we're using Excel a little bit, but mostly we're focusing on trade-off analysis. So forewarning, we're gonna have to do a little bit of math, a little bit of critical analysis, but I think it's a great insight into how you should and can use Excel in your day-to-day business operations. So let's dive in. Should my company implement a proposed waste reduction strategy? So with this, we're going to be, again, like I mentioned, focusing on trade-off analysis. And this is something that you're likely going to do in the future. Maybe some of you have already done it before, but it's a very important skill to have. So let's dive right in. You are an analyst at a wholesale distribution company that imports housewares in bulk and mails them out to individuals. Being environmentally conscious, your boss wants to reduce the amount of waste in your distribution process, specifically waste from packaging materials. However, your boss is looking for a way to reduce waste at no extra cost, which generally is pretty hard to do at no extra cost. The company imports products and often has excess cardboard material. So you suggest converting the excess cardboard into a more environmentally friendly packaged material using a cardboard perforator. So essentially, instead of just getting rid of those big boxes that we have when we get in shipments, then we're just going to shred the cardboard and use it as packing material. Your boss thinks this could work, but needs to know how much it will cost. You have been asked to account for all the inputs and charges in the business process so that an informed decision can be made. So we need to utilize all of these things. We need to take into account all the costs, the cost of the machine, the cost of the extra labor, and consider if we're increasing or reducing any costs to see overall how much is this going to cost us, or will this save us money in the end? So I know there were some issues with Zoom. If you're just joining us, you have not missed too much. Don't worry. We're just introducing the business context. So we're looking to see what are we trying to solve with this trade-off analysis. So we're going to map out the process. It's going to seem like we're taking a lot of things at first, but don't worry. We're going to really break this down a little bit in Excel, and we're giving you all the information up front, and then we're going to break it down even more later on. So don't worry about this too much. But let's just go over just the overview of everything first. So we need to, as mentioned, understand the entire process, because you have to thoroughly understand the entire process, the cost involved, before you can make an informed decision on kind of chopping up things or costs. So we need to first figure out what we're doing. So let's look at this first step. As a wholesale distributor, your warehouse receives purchases of housewares in bulk and then mails these out individually to customers. So we have a diagram here. So this is number one, which is meaning we're receiving these packages. So our packages are coming in, we're receiving the boxes with the packages. Now for the second, and let me get my laser pointer back. Here it is. Once the shipment arrives, the items are removed from the carton. Products arrive in a carton of 12 units. The cylinders represent the items that are removed from the carton. So one, we had our products arrive, and now we've taken our products outside of their packaging. And normally, this is our current business process. Normally, we're just dumping those boxes. We're getting rid of them, which is not very environmentally friendly, especially if they're cardboard. So now let's look at our other steps. To prepare the products for individual shipment, plastic bubble wrap is used as shown by this roll icon right here. So in this setup, your boss has asked you to try to improve on. So we're trying to improve essentially on number 3 and number 4, and we're going to get some ideas from you in a moment. Now, lastly, the products are wrapped up and put into mailers by hand, so labor is shown by the tools icon. So this just means that individual workers are going to have to wrap up these items and put them into separate mailers by hand. So this is just labor-intensive work that we see here. So keeping in mind that we want to reduce costs without adding any extra additional cost. So we want to find one of these steps that we can either cut or change or replace in a way that's going to save us money. So keeping this in mind, do you all have any ideas on how we can do this? How can we cut some cost without introducing extra cost to our already kind of intensive process that we have here? Anwar is saying eliminate step 3. Arun is saying reuse packaging. Yeah, Roya is saying don't use plastic bubble wrap. So yeah, the plastic bubble wrap itself is it's not very environmentally friendly, but we also have to pay for this bubble wrap. So that's not very good overall. So amazing. Yeah, you all are saying a lot of similar things. So essentially, let's get my terrible drawing in here. So what we need to do is stop getting rid of these boxes. That's just really bad that we're actually paying money to dispose of them. And we want to try to incorporate these boxes that we would normally throw away. And then we're going to replace them with this. So we're no longer going to use bubble wrap, but we're instead going to use those recycled cartons that we would normally get rid of. So let's see how this method works. And amazing. All right. So this is essentially what we already did. You all had your amazing ideas. You had a nice consensus too. We're all like, all right, we need to change step 3 and 4. We need to reuse these carton packages instead of just getting rid of them. So that is excellent. And then Roy is also saying a great point. Sometimes we pay extra costs for business and get a good result to reduce the future costs. So that is an excellent point. And this is something we're going to see further down the line. If we incur a cost at the very start, yes, we're going to incur that cost first, but over time, are we going to save more? So that's an excellent point. Okay, let's begin our trade-off analysis. So now, just like you've mentioned, we're going to get rid of step 3 and step 4. So instead of just dumping away those boxes, we're going to turn them into packing material. So this is going to turn into a new flowchart. So let's observe our new flowchart. We're still going to have our wholesale products arriving. That's not going to change. We still have to take them out from the carton. Not going to change. Now we are converting this cardboard into packaging material. So remember that machine at the start, we have to use a cardboard perforator to do that. So it's just going to shred the cardboard boxes into like kind of shredded cardboard, which is good packing material. And we also are going to have someone do this. So someone has to take those boxes and put it through the perforator, which is why we have this tool icon, because this is going to be a labor-intensive process. Then we are completely getting rid of our bubble wrap, and we're going to have the same labor process as before, except we're using the shredded cardboard now. So this is a little bit of a look into what our new flow chart would look like. All right, so just double checking. I know we're kind of going through our processes. Are we okay so far? Are all the steps clear? Any concerns about our process? I know we're still catching up with Zoom, but we haven't moved too far, so it should be easier for everyone to catch up as well. I see a question. So will we use Excel? You don't have to use Excel for today. I'm going to go over a few of the shortcuts just for practice. But if you're having trouble with Excel or it's harder to use right now, you don't have to use it. That's okay. Amazing. Okay, let's keep on keeping on. So now we have all of the costs. So this is where I would like to put it in Excel, because having to go back and forth between this kind of page and our further pages is going to be kind of painful. So this I'm just going to keep track on this Excel sheet here, just for organization purposes. But again, you don't have to do this. It's okay if you are just following along with me. So let's look at our first cost. We have our machinery costs. So that big cardboard perforator is not free. We actually have to pay money for that. So we found a machine, and this machine is actually going to be $5,540. So it kind of sounds like a lot of money at first, but as Roya mentioned, I think we have to think about the savings over time. So this is why we need to do our trade-off analysis. We have to see, is it going to be worth it to invest in this machine, or are we better just kind of throwing away our cardboard boxes and not using them for anything and buying bubble wrap instead? That is what we're trying to see right now. So not only do we have to buy this cardboard perforator, the machine is going to take up space. And this is space that we have to pay for. So it's good that our machine can convert all 3,000 square feet of weekly cardboard waste within 2 hours. This means this is going to be an extra 2 hours of labor. So let's just keep in mind of this machinery costs. So let's organize this here. Oops, get rid of that. Let me clear this. So let's just keep track of our costs. So we're going to have, I'll just do item and then costs. And can you see the Excel if I tab over? Is that okay? I saw someone mention they couldn't see it. Yes, okay, great. Just double checking, thank you. So we have our first machine cost. So we'll do machine because I don't want to spell perforator. So we're gonna do machine costs, or I'll just say machine. And that was $5,540. So I can just do this. So I can just do 5,540. And what's nice in Excel is if I click on home or hover over home, if I want to just change this formatting or kind of like change the way I'm displaying this number, we can do this in our settings. So what I did here was I just right clicked on the number, and then I'm going to hover over to number format. And then Excel's pretty smart. It's saying, okay, you're probably dealing with money here. Do you want to turn this into a numerical number? Except, do you want it to be some type of dollar, or do you want it to be in euros or pounds? So then, instead of actually having to type the dollar sign, I can just click here and have it be converted for me. So this is just one of the things that you can do. You don't have to do this, but it's just optional. I think my setting right now is in French. So this is why we're seeing the comma instead. But for you, it's going to be based upon your location. So wherever you have your Excel location, that's where it's going to change it to. So we first have our machine, and I like to bold things to make them a little bit more pretty. So that's our first cost that we have to incur. Now we're going to have labor costs. So let's also note if these are fixed or hourly. So fixed or hourly. And this is just going to be kind of a categorical. And this is me asking, do we have to pay this once, or do we have to keep paying this? So now we know the machine is this going to be a fixed cost or an hourly cost for this machine? I see Akeem is saying once, Maria is saying variable or hourly. Yeah, variable is good. That's a better name for it, variable. Fixed. Everyone is saying fixed pretty much. So this is actually going to be a fixed cost because once we pay for the machine, it's one and done. We have the machine. You may be thinking about, okay, what if you have to pay for repairs later on? That's something we can consider later. But for now, we're going to say this is going to be a fixed cost. So well done. So we'll say fixed. And make this bold too. Great. So now let's do a little bit more quantification. So some of you that said some of you that said variable or hourly, you might have been thinking of this labor cost that we have here, which is something we have to consider. So labor wages of a warehouse employee are $18.50 an hour. Someone will need to operate the new machinery. All employees currently work a standard work week of 40 hours a week. So considering that we know someone's going to have to work this machine, is this extra labor cost or this labor cost for the machine overall, is this going to be fixed or is it going to be variable? So we'll just put this as labor. So I see Anwar saying variable, Anita variable. It's going fast. Can't read the names that fast. Tresor saying variable, King is saying variable. So yes, this is going to be variable because since this is an hourly rate, technically if someone is using the machine for longer, that rate would change. So we're going to say this is a variable rate. Well done. And then this one was 1850. And one thing you can do, if you click on this painter here, so format painter means just take the settings of one cell and apply it to a different cell. So if I click this, instead of having to go through the accounting step of changing the formatting for this number before, I can click on this and then it gives me the same formatting here. So just a few extra tools for you to keep in mind. All right. So we bought the machine, we've got labor, and now these are some costs that we're actually already incurring. Oh, actually, I saw a great question from Jaydeep. Jaydeep is saying, but it was 1850 for 40 hours, so is it not going to be fixed? That's a great point. So we're considering the 40-hour work week, but we're not considering this a variable cost because it's a cost that we incur hourly. So let's say if someone is working like 1.5 hours on the machine, that's going to change. If they're working 2.5 hours on the machine, that's going to change. So we can't say it's going to be exactly 2 hours every time. Additionally, this is going to be 2 hours outside of the 40-hour work week. So this is why we're going to say it's variable. Does that make sense? That's a great point. Awesome. And then Kinga's mentioning we need units. We need to say it is per hour. So yes, let's do that. So I'll add per hour here. Great call. Okay. So now we're going to look at packaging costs. So this is what we're doing currently. Plastic bubble wrap is purchased in, so yep, sorry about these. We've got the American notation here, but this is going to be 12 inches. So 12 inches, which is also equal to 1 foot, by 750 feet. And that's going to be $48 per roll. But this is not going to be a new cost. This is something that we're currently paying for. Because remember, business as usual, which I'm going to explain later, or what we're currently doing now, it does not include the cardboard perforator yet. So let's note that this bubble wrap is going to be $48 per roll. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to fill in the rest of these. So I'm going to put bubble wrap. I won't put just the measurement yet because we're going to do some math with that soon. And yeah, Sapan knows what we're doing, but yes, exactly. So the bubble wrap is going to be $48 a roll. And I should put per roll. Let me add the dollars. Next, we're going to have the amount of waste. So we know that every week, about 3,000 square feet of cardboard is thrown away. This is something we'll consider as we move along because we actually have to pay to get rid of this. So it's a bit unfortunate that we can actually recycle something, but instead we're throwing it away. So this is what I just mentioned. So recycling pickup costs are going to be $32 a week for industrial waste disposal subscription. So this is what we're currently paying. So our $32 a week, each week. So I'll keep that in mind just to make a note of what we're currently paying. So waste disposal. Disposal. This is going to be $32 a week. And this week is going to be important later because we have to do a little bit more math. Yeah, and then Patrick has a good point. Wouldn't it be easier to keep the units the same as the box item, labor per hour, so we can just use the numbers? Yeah, you definitely could do it that way. It's really up to you. In the rest of the case, we're actually going to do math for pretty much everything. So that's why I'm just telling you the units that we're given, and then we'll convert them later on. But that is a good point. But we can't escape the math quite yet. So, and then we're almost here. So this is just good to keep in mind. On average, our company is shipping out 1,500 packages a week. And every package is going to use 2 square feet of packaging. This is just something that I want to take a note of because it's going to be helpful. So let's keep in mind our weekly packing volume. And this is for later. And I'm going to use this formatting so it's not crazy long. So don't worry about the cost. We're going to convert these later on. And I'll also fill these in. This is going to be fixed. This is going to be fixed since this is a subscription. And then this weekly packing volume doesn't really apply, just some extra information. Okay, lastly, we have our warehouse cost. And a new machine is going to take up an additional 25 square feet of space in the warehouse. So we're paying for all the space that we utilize in the warehouse. So assume your company rents the space at a rate of $2.23 per square foot per month. So lastly, is this going to be a fixed cost or a variable cost for this warehouse? So this 223 per square foot, is this fixed or variable? Yes, exactly. This is going to be fixed because our machine is going to take up a set amount of space. That's not going to change because the machine size isn't going to change. And we have to pay this set amount every month. So let's make a note of this. So this is the 223 per month. And the per is actually dividing twice, so get rid of that. Okay. This is fixed. It is true that the price could change, but we're basing it off the information we have now. So we're going to say this is a fixed cost, but that is a good point. So this is just information I wanted to summarize here because we're going to be doing some calculations later on. And it's also easier to use Excel to do your calculations in. So, oh, and that's a great point, Anwar. So 223 square feet a month. That's going to help. Do square feet. Thank you. So now let us get to the calculations part. So we have a lot of information here. You have a beautiful summary of everything in case you're like, this is too much in Excel, I don't want to see this. Then you have your nice summary in Codio. So again, just for sanity's sake, let's break down all of our costs that we have, our current costs, as well as the new costs that we might incur. So we know the machine is going to be a one-time expense. This is going to be $5,540, and that's just something we have to pay once. So we're treating this as a fixed cost. We also have to take into consideration that this machine is going to take up space in our warehouse. This we also have to pay for. So the space in the warehouse is going to cost $2.23 per square foot, and that's going to be billed to us every month. We also have to consider labor. So we're paying our laborers $18.50 per hour, $18.50 per hour. We're not going to consider overtime just to not complicate anything. So for packaging, if we're using our cardboard perforator, we would not have to buy any more bubble wrap. So this would be a potential savings. And then also, because we're not throwing away or we're not recycling as much cardboard, this cost is going to be reduced from $32 a week to $19 bi-weekly. So we're going to use this information to calculate our savings, calculate our trade-off analysis. So I know we did a lot of kind of explanation, but it's really important we have that solid foundation, and we also know where we're going with all of these costs because we had quite a lot of them. So now let's understand this business as usual and just kind of trade-off formatting overall. Here, this is going to be our first costs. So normally, business as usual means what are we currently doing now and how much does this cost us? So since we're looking at the machine, currently we actually don't have the machine, so we don't have to pay anything for it. So this is why we would have no change. Our current cost is $0 because we're not paying for any machine. If we implement this new strategy that we have with our cardboard perforator, we're going to be charged, or we're going to have to pay $5,540. So this is a new cost that we're going to have. Therefore, our trade-off is going to be minus 5,540 because we're incurring a cost. So does this make sense with our notation here? Does it make sense why this is negative as well? Awesome. Amazing. Okay. If throughout this, anytime if anything's unclear, do let me know. I'm happy to repeat or re-explain. Amazing. Repeat. Yes. Thank you, Gilbert. Yeah. So currently, we're not having any change. We don't have the cardboard perforator right now, so we don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay for the machine, and we don't have to pay for extra space. So our perspective of what we're doing right now, that is going to be business as usual. So this is what we're doing now. Now we have to compare business as usual to our proposed step, to our recycling with the cardboard perforator. Remember we have kind of our list here. The machine is going to cost $5,540. So if we buy the machine, that's the cost we're going to incur. This means our trade-off is going to be minus 5,540 because we have to pay for this. We're not saving any money, so this has to be a negative number. If we're gaining a profit, or not profit, so that's a bad word to say. If we're saving money, that's going to be a plus in our trade-off analysis. If we have to pay for something, or maybe it's a deficit, that's going to be a negative or a minus. Is that okay? Yeah, exactly. We have a new cost. All right, amazing. And thank you for the questions and for asking me to repeat. Great, happy to help. Okay, so we kind of already went through our fixed cost and our variable cost earlier on, but our new machine is that one-time cost. We don't have to pay for it monthly or yearly or weekly. This is just a one and done. So this is going to be a fixed cost. Our variable costs are going to be costs we either have to do over time or over some other variable. So that's how we're defining these fixed versus variable costs. So anything that you're not just paying immediately and once and don't have to worry about it, that is going to be a variable cost if it's not a one and done. Okay, now brace yourself. We're going to do some math. I'm preparing you now, but the math is now incoming. So suppose that labor costs for a warehouse employee are $18.50 an hour. So this is the cost that we already knew about because someone needs to operate this new machinery. What would the trade-off in weekly labor costs look like? Would we have an increased cost of $37 per week? We have a decreased cost of $37 a week, increase of $18.50, or decrease of $18.50? Amazing. You all are on fire. So I see in live chat, we're going to have an increased cost of 37 per week, and that's correct. So let's break this down. And let's use our new notation. So let's have business as usual. I really don't like acronyms, so I'm going to write it out. because I always forget what they mean. So we have business as usual. And we have, let's do the exact notation as here before. So I'm just copying this right here. We're going to have our additional costs. So this time will be labor, and then we'll have trade-off. Labor, trade-off. I'll just say new, kind of change. This will be whatever represents this change. So what we're trying to propose. So our business as usual, we are paying no additional labor, actually. No one is working overtime or no one is working those extra 2 hours to run this machine because we don't have the machine for anyone to run. So our business as usual is going to be $0. Now we want to implement, I should zoom this too. Zoom. Okay, now that we want to implement the machine, someone's going to have to actually run this machine. This is going to mean, just remember, it's going to take 2 hours for someone to run the machine. This is an additional cost we have to incur. And if we do a little bit of math, remember that labor is going to be $18.50 an hour. If we're using the machine for 2 hours, then it's going to be $18.50, so 18.5 times 2. It's mad at me because I'm not using a comma, I think. Yes. And that's going to be 37. So our change, this is not positive. This is something that we have to pay for. So although our change is going to be an extra $37, our trade-off is going to be minus 37 because this is a cost that we have to pay for. That's a great point. What about training for the person on that machine? So the only reason we're not considering that right now is to just simplify this, but that is a great point. These are additional costs that we're going to have to incorporate later to make our figure as accurate as possible. We're going to have training for the machine. We're going to have wear and tear for the machine. Maybe it has insurance. So we have a lot of other things we have to consider. Yes, exactly. Cost for PPE. So there are a lot of things we're not factoring in here. And then I'm just going to put the machine on here as well. So this one represents the machine. So remember, business as usual for the machine was 0. The machine cost 5,540. So our trade-off is going to be that negative 5,540. Oops. 5,540. Okay. Okay, so just a pause again. Are we okay with business as usual? Because I know the formatting for it is kind of odd. The fact that we have to pay for additional labor and the fact that we have to pay for this machine means we're kind of in a deficit. So we're not making any money right now, or we're not saving any money. This is a cost to us. So this is why our trade-off is negative. Yes, Nicola. So the machine is the investment. So eventually, hopefully, we will recover this money. And yes, great question. Do we have to add the machine cost now? Yes, it is good to add it so you have your accurate trade-off analysis. And you can also project when are you going to start making a savings or money from this machine. So that's a great question. Amazing. Okay. No problem. So let's continue. So we already did this. So we're going to have an increased cost of $37 per week, but in trade-off analysis, we represent this with a negative. Okay. Yes, yeah, and here's the Codio again, so you can see it. Yep, definitely. All right, I already went over the answer, but if you want kind of a more in-depth one, or if you forgot, feel free to visit Codio as well after the lesson. All right, more math. Are you ready? Oh, I see a question. So, oh, I see. So I think it's just the wording here is a little bit confusing. The increased costs, you can just ignore that. It's just going to be a cost of $37 per week. So increase doesn't mean positive here. It just means we have to pay this additional cost. So it just might be a little bit confusing for the wording there. Is that okay? Okay, great. Okay. Now let's move on to exercise 3. Suppose we know that plastic bubble wrap is purchased in 12 inches by 750 feet. And each roll is going to cost $48 per roll. Here comes the math. From the information given, we know that each roll of 12 inches by 750 feet costs $48. What would the trade-off in weekly packaging material costs look like? Oh my goodness, we've got super speedy, just zooming with the answers. All right. Give everyone some time. Take your time, because this involves a little bit of calculation. Oh, amazing. I see, Sam, you're showing your work. Amazing. So I'll give it a couple more seconds. And if you're not sure, don't worry, because we will go over this. All right. So I'm seeing a consensus of a saving of 192. So yes, that is correct. But I gave you 192 seconds, maybe so. So let's break this down. So we're gonna use some math. And actually, let's use Excel for our calculations so you don't have to see my chicken scratch writing. Oh, amazing, Patrick, well done. Yeah, that's exactly the way to calculate it. Excellent. So let's review this. So we know that every roll of bubble wrap is going to be $48. So let's just go back to our cost. Every roll of bubble wrap is $48. Bubble wrap, it comes in 12 inches by 750 feet. Remember, 12 inches is just 1 foot. So this is going to be 1 foot by 750 feet. So I'll say 1 foot, and the X just means by 750 feet. This is just how the rolls are going to come. That's how they come as we purchase them. So, oh yes, Zoom, thank you. Yes. So remember, we need to figure out square feet, because if you'll remember this note that I put before, on average, your company ships out 1,500 packages a week. Each package uses 2 square feet of packaging. Before we get to that, let's first figure out how many square feet do we have per roll. To figure that out, we're just going to multiply the two numbers. Since both units are in feet, we can multiply them. So 1 times 750 is going to be 750. So we have 750 square feet. So the bubble wrap comes in 750 square feet. So amazing. Yes, we've got the math wizard zooming ahead. So now we have to figure out how much bubble wrap do we need every single week. Since we know we're shipping out 1,500 packages a week, and each package uses 2 square feet of packaging, we have to do 1,500 times 2. So I'm just gonna say bubble wrap used or bubble wrap needed. I should have put these in separate cells, but that's okay. So our bubble wrap needed is going to be, and notice how I'm putting the equal sign. I'm not doing these calculations on my phone or kind of like in my head, because we have the powerful tool of Excel to do it for us. Even if we're kind of just figuring out things and sketching them, Excel is still a great tool to keep all of this handy. So we're going to do 1,500 times 2, and that's going to be 3,000. So this means we need 3,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet every week. One more step, we have to figure out how many rolls that we need. If we need 3,000 square feet and One roll of bubble wrap is 750 square feet. I know a lot of you can do this in your head, but let's just see it in Excel. The way to figure this out is we're going to take 3,000 divided by 750, because by dividing, we can see how many bubble wrap packs are going to fit the slot of all the packages that we need to wrap. That's what we're saying with this division. So we're going to say bubble wrap rolls needed. Oops. Bubble wrap rolls needed. And then for this, what we're going to do is, as you all mentioned, yes, I see lots of answers in live chat. Amazing. So we're going to do 3,000 divided by 750, because the 750 represents one roll. And that gives you 4. Okay, before I move on, are we okay so far? Are we okay with this? I know it's a lot of math, but are we okay? Awesome. See more typing. Okay, perfect. I check in a lot because I don't want anyone to be lost. Okay, I see a no. So I see a few no's. So with this, I'll repeat this again, but I know it's a lot of like calculations that we're doing. So let's just break this down overview, and then we'll kind of move on to our next step. What we first need to do is figure out the square feet. The square feet is going to represent how much bubble wrap can you wrap around an entire package. That's the first thing we need to calculate. So we have a note that is saying we are shipping out 1,500 packages a week. And if each package is using 2 square feet, I'm going to bring out the full geometry here. So each package is using 2 square feet of packaging. Then that means, well, this would actually be root 2. So I'm not going to do that. It's going to be confusing. So each package is using 2 square feet of packaging. Then we need to multiply this 1,500 packages a week times 2 square feet, because every single individual package is going to need 2 square feet. This allows us to figure out how much square footage of bubble wrap that we need. So that's how we got this 3,000, this 1,500 packages, because every single individual package needs 2 square feet. That's where the 3,000 square feet come from. Then we figured out that one roll of bubble wrap is going to be 750 square feet. To figure out the square footage of this, we know our bubble wrap is 1 foot by 750. 1 times 750 is going to be 750. So that means our bubble wrap is 750 square feet. So now we have how much we have in one single roll compared to how much we need. 750 square feet is in one roll that we purchase, but we need 3,000 square feet for all of our packages in a week. So we need to figure this out. So to figure this out, we're going to see how many times or how many rolls of bubble wrap do we need to get to 3,000. And that turns out to be 4. So since we know, the way we did that is we just divide. So 3,000 divided by 750, that's going to get us 4. So I know, sorry, it was like a big math summary. But if you need to take some time just to review that part, then definitely feel free to ask me questions or send me messages after today's lesson. I'm happy to answer. Now that we know that we have 4 rolls of bubble wrap needed, we still need to figure out this cost. So now we're full circle back to this cost. So let's see, how much did it cost for bubble wrap? Bubble wrap is $48 per roll. So since we're going to need 4 rolls of bubble wrap each week, to figure out the cost of bubble wrap, we're going to do 4 times 48. And that gives us the 192 that we saw in live chat before. I hate math, I can confirm. I know it was a lot of steps, but we got there eventually. So now that we know this cost for bubble wrap every week is going to be 192, let's do our trade-off. So currently, our business as usual, we are spending $192 on bubble wrap every single week. So that's going to go in our business as usual. This is a cost that we're normally seeing every single week. If we get our cardboard perforator, if we buy the machine, we no longer have to buy any bubble wrap because instead we're using that perforated cardboard to ship our packages in. So if we buy this machine, the change is going to be, we're going to actually not have to pay this cost anymore. So technically it would be minus 192. So we would just get rid of this completely. Then our trade-off is going to be 192. So this is going to be plus. So you could put a plus here from 192. For the change, you could also consider this as just a 0. This change is representing the new state that we're going to. So if we move to the machine, we don't have to pay this cost anymore. We no longer have this cost. So this is why this is going to be positive 192. I think this is the kind of format for this is a little bit more weird, but this is the more proper format because what you want to do is you want to go across with this trade-off. 0 minus 37, it's minus 37. 0 minus 540, or sorry, 5,540 is minus 5,540. So although we are losing this is a cost we no longer have to bear. If we change to our new method, we don't have to pay it. So I'm just going to put a 0 right here for now. And then instead, this is going to be a positive 192. So instead of change, I saw a confused face. Instead of change, I'm going to say new proposed method. I think that might help a little bit. Absolutely. Yes, let's repeat this. So let's repeat this one. Our business as usual, we are currently paying $192 for bubble wrap because currently we don't have the machine. So this is a cost that we have to incur weekly. With our new method that we're proposing with this cardboard perforator, we would totally eliminate bubble wrap. We're completely getting rid of bubble wrap. So we no longer have to pay for this 192. This is why in this new method, we're going to see a 0. So we don't have to pay this anymore. So then our trade-off is actually going to be a savings of $192 because we no longer have to pay for that bubble wrap. Okay, awesome. No problem. And then yes, we have the cost of the machine. Keep in mind, we're kind of tallying every step in our trade-off analysis. So the step with the machine is going to be right here. Okay, are we feeling better about this part? I know this is our first positive kind of cost, so it's a little bit weird to see. And if you're still unclear, please let me know. See typing, thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, amazing. Great. So let's maybe do one more and then we'll give your brains a break before we continue. So let's do one more step. Now, we have done this already. We've done our bubble wrap. So now let's continue. Okay. So actually, this one's a bit weird. Let's take our break first because this one's gonna be a lot more math. So let's do our break first, and then what we'll do is we'll come back to this, really get some like coffee, get some candy, drink some juice, get your brain power flowing, because this also is another one that's gonna take a few, it's gonna take a little bit of analysis. And this is trade-off analysis. Great question. All righty, amazing. Let me stop sharing. And then also, if you have any questions during the break, I am happy to answer any. I'll still be here, but otherwise, I will see you in break. Just before we dive right back into the math, what did you all have for your break? Did you have a nice snack? Did you have some coffee? Did you just take a power nap somehow? What did you do? Kit Kat, water, coffee, Red Bull, wow, chocolate. Oh, wow, a lot of water. Very healthy. Jollof rice, jelly. Ooh, small walk. Okay, I'm liking the variety. Again, free data that we're just not collecting. All right, amazing. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I promise it's not too bad, but it has a lot of steps like last time. I will give you this warning. So previously on 10 minutes ago's episode, we calculated our cost for weekly packaging material. So we did our trade-off analysis for weekly packaging material. Now we're going to move on to recycling pickup costs. So suppose that we know recycling pickup costs are $32 per week. Now I will have you just really kind of like alarm bells for whenever you see units, because the units are going to be really important here. Oh my goodness, see a lot of you have already answered it. Amazing. But I'll go over this first, but you have plenty of time to answer exercise 4. So suppose we know that recycling pickup costs are $32 per week for an industrial waste disposal subscription. You estimate that more than 90% of recycling comes from outer carton disposal. So fully diverting this waste would lower the recycling pickup cost to a basic subscription plan at $19 bi-weekly pickup. So we're going from $32 every single week to $19 every other week. So this calculation's a little bit weird, but I will tell you, you need to somehow convert these units. You're going to have to scale up the units to a common unit, and then you're going to have to chop those up into weeks. That is my hint for you. So I know, I know a lot of you have figured this out already, which is amazing, but let's give everyone some time. And if you want to show your work, that's amazing. I saw a couple people in Slack showing your work, and that's great. Well done. So you can do this a couple ways, but I'm going to show you a slightly more complex way. And I saw someone in live chats like, I don't know, I give it my best shot, and that's totally okay too. Don't worry, we're going to go over all of this together. All right. Roya has the trade-off analysis, which is fair. Forgot about that. So yes, we're going to have a saving of 200, sorry, not 200, wishful thinking, $22.50 a week. But let's break this down. So prepare yourselves. So first, we know, and I'm going to put this on a new screen, completely new. It deserves its own screen. Super zoom. So our weekly cost, so weekly disposal pickup is $32. So it's going to be $32 a week. This per week is important. If we implement our cardboard perforator, we no longer have to pay to recycle all of this cardboard. We can drop down to a less expensive subscription. So the basic plan is going to be $19 bi-weekly. Whenever in math, you might remember this kind of like in the back of your brain. So you might have some alarms going off in your head saying, hold on, these are different units. I can't do anything with this. And you're exactly correct. We have to convert the units in the same format. So the easiest one, at least in my mind, to do is I want to scale this up to a month. Let's scale both of these plans up to monthly, So then we can figure out the cost differential. So now let's say monthly disposal pickup. And if I'm scaling this up monthly, how do I go from $32 a week to what this is per month? What do I do with this? How would I scale this up? Exactly. So there are 4 weeks in a month. So what I just have to do is 32 times 4. And that's going to be how much we pay monthly. Because again, 4 weeks in 1 month. I want to do the same with the basic plan. So this time we're paying $19 bi-weekly. So first, it's going to be a little bit different since it's every 2 weeks. It's going to be 19 times 2. Exactly. I see a lot of it in live chat. Because we're skipping a week, so we're doing every other week. So we only have to pay this twice. So this is going to be amazing, as you're all saying. 19 times 2, just in case you want to see me show my work. 19 times 2, that's going to be that 38. Now, we have this both in month. What you could do is, if we want to see the difference here, let's just calculate the difference. So if I want to find the difference in the two prices, notice I could just type in the numbers, but let's say, I'm feeling lazy. I'd rather just click the numbers here. So I'm going to click on the cell that has the number. I want to do 128 minus 38. And then it's going to tell me that is 90. So I have right now $90 of saving per month. However, we're not quite there yet. We're almost there. So what I want to do is actually scale this up to even higher. I want to scale this up to year. So if we scale this up to a year, so difference per year, or actually, let's just do the disposal pickups per year. So yearly disposal pickup, disposal pickup, yep. Basic plan, yearly. So I'm just going to kind of like hammer down these costs just so you can see them like step by step by step. So I know this is the monthly basic plan. Forgot to write monthly. So as I saw in live chat, yes, I'm going to multiply this by 2. So if I want to figure out what this is per year, I'm going to take this number and then multiply this times 12. Sorry, I think I said 2. I meant to say 12. This is the yearly cost for the current disposal pickup. Now I'm doing the same thing. I'm multiplying this times 12 because there are 12 months in a year. Now, let's see our difference. And this is going to be, let's just let Excel do it for us. So I'm just going to select the cell. I'm subtracting and then select the other cell I want to subtract from. And then as you mentioned, yes, $1,080 difference. Now, I actually need to convert this into weeks. So I need to change this into weeks. So what is the final thing that I need to do to go from this yearly savings to weekly? Amazing. Yes, exactly. Because there are 52 weeks in 1 year, to find the weekly savings, what I can do is divide this by 52. So now I'll say weekly savings. And I'm just trying to promote Excel's multifunctionality of calculations and all this good stuff. That's why I'm doing all the calculations like this, trying to have you accept Excel a bit more. So I'm going to take my difference. I'm going to take this 1,080 divided by 52 to get me, that's going to be Actually, it's a little bit less. So I think one of the steps I might have, let me see, is it 19 biweekly? 19 biweekly. So let me see where I went wrong here. Yes, some months do have 5 weeks. Okay, fair enough. Some months have 5 weeks. So in this separate calculation, let me do it not considering like the full month. So let's do this once more with feeling. So we have our 19. Oh, actually, I know what I did wrong. So instead of considering 19 times 2, we need to consider the cost per week. So this first step, since this is bi-weekly, we need to convert this into a weekly unit. So this one cost kind of throws everything off. So since 19 is bi-weekly, yeah, exactly, divide by 2. We need to divide this by 2. Well done. Excellent catch. So basic plan weekly is going to be 19 divided by 2. Great catch. So this basic plan is actually $9.50 per week. Now we get to convert all of these, which is fun. So instead of the 19 times 2, it's going to be this 950. So that changes all our numbers. And then I think I don't think I changed this number. So this monthly basic plan, I think this is okay. And then, let me see. Might have to do this again. So let's do this once more with feeling. Messed up some of my cells. Now I got confused myself. So, oh, I think I saw, yeah, I messed up the month there. So let's do this conversion from the top. So we have our weekly disposal pickup, $32 a week. The basic plan, even though it's $19 bi-weekly, this is going to mean $19.50 every week. Okay, yeah, I think I forgot to switch a line, but that's okay. I don't want it to be too confusing, so let's just start from the top anyway. So it's this darn bi-weekly. It's confusing everyone, or confusing me mainly. So we have this $9.50 every week. This is our new plan. So again, we're going to scale this up. So instead of me doing this, I'm going to have you do this for me. So now, what is my monthly disposal going to be for pickup? My normal monthly plan, what is this going to be? Normally, it's $32 a week. What will this be? Yes, exactly. 32 times 4. So we're starting from the top, and I'll explain why we're doing these conversions. Some of the conversions you can go down or you can go up. I'm just scaling up to year because then it makes it a lot easier to chop up the weeks because you're trying to consider for some of the differences in weeks by going all the way up. But it's again not going to be perfect, but this is why we're going to do it. But don't worry, I'll explain this once more because I want to make sure I didn't confuse anyone. So our weekly disposal pickup, we know we have 4 weeks in 1 month. So this is going to be 32 times 4. This is our monthly disposal pickup right now. For our basic plan, we're using this right here. And that's where I went wrong because our basic plan weekly is actually $9.50 per week. You have to compare the units only when they're the same units. That's the only way you can compare them. So now we're going to do our basic plan monthly. Amazing. You're beating me to it. So we're using this $9.50 times 4 to scale it up to monthly. Is this okay so far? I just want to make sure I haven't confused anyone by the previous things. So right now we've taken our weekly conversion and we've turned the basic plan into weekly and we're scaling it up to monthly. So that's all we've done so far. Okay, and I'll explain why we're doing this afterwards too. Now, perfect. Now what we'll do is we're going to scale this up again. So now from monthly, I want to scale this up to yearly. Yes, I'm amazing. Yeah, I see you're doing it a lot of different ways, so I'll show the other ways too. Great. So yearly disposal pickup, our current pickup. So for this one, we're going to take 128 times 12. This is our yearly savings. We're going to do the same exact thing with our basic plan. Should have put yearly first. So we're taking this 38 times 12. Now we're comparing these two. Amazing. So we're just multiplying by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. And then we're going to scale it down. Exactly. After this, we're going to divide our savings by 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. Exactly. So now let's first see our savings. And I think some of you mentioned I think the error last time was here because I don't remember this 456. So if we take our yearly disposal pickup, which will be 1,536 minus this yearly basic plan, this is going to be our savings. So this is going to be our main difference. Amazing. I see in live chat. Okay, so I'm seeing in... Oh, I'm missing 4 weeks. Oh, whoops. Thank you, that Patrick. Yes. Oh, was I multiplying by 48? Oh, no. Thank you for that. Okay, so I was missing 4 weeks. Thank you. That's why. Okay. So okay, thank you. So instead, I was missing 4 weeks. So I got you. So instead, what I was doing is I think I did some error here with a division. So we're going to divide this by 48. An alternate way that you can do it, which I'm kind of getting this like messed up right here. So what I saw some of you doing instead was this. Instead, what we can do to kind of avoid the differences in the years. So yeah, exactly. Let's scale up with our 52 weeks because we have some of our differences in weeks. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for that. So instead of having this multiplication by 12, it's better to take this and multiply by our 52 weeks instead of 12 months. Yes. So what we can do is, thank you for that. Patrick, you saved the day. So we have our 32 times 52 weeks. So instead, we're going from our weeks all the way up, or we're scaling from weeks all the way to years. And then we're doing the same thing. So weeks scaling up to years. You're going to get some differences just because of the ways that the weeks are with leap year and days like this, exactly. Then what we'll do is exactly, we're going to subtract this. So then this we're actually going to chop into pieces. So the reason we need to scale up to yearly is just because we can't have the same calculations. So if we have the week and biweekly, you have to convert it to some type of unit that you can compare them equally. That's the only way that we have to scale them up to something. And the easiest thing is yearly because years we can chop up into pieces. So that's why we're doing yearly. So for this one, definitely apologize. I kind of got lost in the sauce myself. I think I did this a little bit of a different way when I did this previously. So I got a different calculation. So another way that you could do this is I saw this as well. You can compare the weeks themselves. So let's do that. That might be a little bit easier. Okay, so let's consider these two first. So I think what I switched things around, so sorry about that. Instead, let's calculate our savings first, and then we can scale it up later on. So if we know we have $32 a week for our basic plan, subtract this from the plan that we're trying to switch to with our cardboard perforator. This is going to be this $22.50 savings. So that's going to be kind of like our shorter way if you just do this conversion to weeks. However, you saw the first way that we saw before, it's not going to be, we have like a little bit of a difference. So you saw that we had the 20 point, I forget the exact number. That's just because we have a few different days that we're losing. So it depends on if you want to be super precise. If you have larger numbers, it's going to be important to be a bit more precise. If you have smaller numbers, it's going to be okay. So sorry about the long way around. Before, when I did this, I did it the yearly way, but it's a bit easier to do, I think, what Patrick mentioned. I forget who mentioned this. So essentially what we're doing is we're converting our weekly disposal pickup. This is $32 a week, and we have to take this bi-weekly and convert it to every single week. So if we do this, this is just 19 divided by 2. So then we just split this cost into every week. Then we subtract these two together. So sorry about that. I got like super lost in the sauce there. I made it a little bit more, way more complex than it needed to be. So definitely apologize by that. And then yes, I think if you wanted yearly, you have to multiply this weekly to 52. So you don't have to take the monthly because monthly doesn't convert correctly. The units have to be the same when you're multiplying. So thank you all. You're super kind. I'm sorry about that. So let's do this once more with feeling with our trade-off analysis. Because I want to make sure that I didn't just super confuse anyone. That's what I'm worried about. Okay. So Gilbert saying that was cool to stimulate our nerves. I appreciate that. Yes, you all are the mega data analysts. You did a great job. So our business as usual, since you all are the experts for today, what is our business as usual right now? What's our current business as usual? Exactly. $32 per week. Exactly. So we know, we learned that the hard way, this is just going to be per week. Our total trade-off analysis is per week anyway, so we're sticking with the unit of week. So just for this instance, since actually I'll say trade-off analysis per week, it's really good to have your units considered, because if someone like me looks at this and says, okay, I don't know what unit I'm in, I'm going to assume months or years, that gives you really bad interpretations. So actually, let's be good and let's say trade-off analysis per week, just so we remember. So as you said, yes, exactly. So Zofia mentioned that. So mentioning the correct units is important. Exactly. So 32 is our business as usual because we're currently paying $32 a week per week right now. That is true. The machine cost isn't per week. I guess it's that's a good point. Yeah, it doesn't quite work that way. So everything else except the machine cost is per week, unfortunately. But yes, that's a good point. We shouldn't say that. We're going to end up splitting per week, but it's not accurate. So now, with our new proposed method, what are we going to have here? With our new method, what are we going to have here? This part is a bit odd. So I see 9.5, I see 0, 9.5 per week. Yes. So with this, our new proposed method is going to be 950. So instead of paying 32, we're going to drop this down to 950 a week. So we're going to drop this down. Oops, I think I typed in Slack. We're going to drop this down to 950. What? Okay, to 950 a week. So now I think this is the first time we've seen two things in our trade-off analysis, this is actually why we have this notation especially. Now you can actually see our savings. We're looking at our business as usual, and then we're going to subtract the savings from our new proposed method. So if we're subtracting from this new proposed method, yes, exactly, we get our 22.5 in savings. And I'm not going to put the plus just because it'll make it nicer to add everything later on. But do keep in mind this is plus. This is a positive. And what does it mean if you have a positive again? What does that mean? Exactly. This is a savings. So this, yeah, or a gain. Exactly. This is a savings. So instead of just typing out the number here, what I could have done is I could have done this. I could make a formula. I can say cell A minus cell B, and then click enter. Even cooler, what I can do instead is I can do equals. I can have cell A minus cell B. I can hit enter. And then you see, hopefully you can see this square down here. I think you already learned about this, but I can take this square and I can drag it down. And so now Excel is going to say, okay, I understand that whenever I see columns in cell C, sorry, whenever I see cells in column C, this means you want me to automatically calculate this subtraction. So you want me to take A minus B for each cell. So then I can apply this calculation. Or exactly, you can double click if maybe you have some empty rows, maybe you already have numbers here, just making random numbers. Maybe you already have numbers here, but you didn't get a chance to fill in column C. We can double click this and then Excel will complete it for you. So just another part of the amazingness of Excel. Alrighty. So now we've got that. Now we're actually almost done with our trade-off analysis, and we're going to soon get to our break-even point, but we have a little bit more calculations to do. So remember, our machine is going to take up space, and we have to pay for space in our warehouse. So we know that a new machine is going to take up 25 additional square feet. Let me highlight this. So it's going to take up 25 square feet of space in the warehouse. I already see the calculations about to come in. I see the typing. Assume your company rents space at a rate of $2.23 per square foot per month. So, oh my goodness, super fast. So I'll give you some time for this. Keep in mind, this question is asking for your weekly rental costs. So what is our weekly rental cost going to be? Yes, you all are too speedy, but again, we're going to break this down. Well done. So our weekly rental costs, let me switch back to my mouse. We're going to have, of course, it's going to be an increase because this is something that we're adding. Our business as usual means we don't have the machine at all. So that kind of crosses these decreases out. So it has to be an increased cost of $12.87. So let's kind of calculate this first. So we know, yeah, we're also wasting space storing the bubble wrap. That's a good point. So we know that I have to get rid of the drawings, but also we know that space is going to cost $2.23. So I'm getting rid of our bubble wrap from before. Space is going to cost $2.23 per square feet per month. So if we're first, let's calculate how much the machine is going to take up per month. We know the machine is 25 square feet. So it's telling us the machine is 25 square feet. So, oops, keep typing in Slack. So the machine cost, this is monthly. So the machine is going to be 25 square feet. That's just what they told us. And we have to multiply this by the 223 square feet every month. So we know for every month, that is going to be $55.75. However, this is going to be for each month. Amazing, you've already beat me to it. So yes, we have this as monthly, and I think I was thinking actually of this cost in the previous exercise, so that kind of explains it. So we have to scale this one up. We have monthly, but we need to convert this to weekly. And as you all have mentioned, we have to multiply this by 12. So we have to scale up first so we can have an even distribution for our weekly cost. So now let's find our machine cost yearly, which is, as Mina and I think Peter and Varun, all of you have mentioned, for yearly, we have to multiply this by 12. So let's go ahead and do this in Excel. So we're going to take this, just going to click, multiply this by 12, and then this is our yearly cost. Yes, exactly. $669 for this machine, which I guess it's a little expensive, but I guess not terrible. Now, as you mentioned, we're going to have to convert this to weekly because weekly was our goal in the first place. So our machine cost weekly, since there are 52 weeks in a year, yes, exactly. You got to convert this to weekly. So we have to divide this divided by 52. And that gives us, it's good to round this up since this is like 5 and change. So it'll be 12.87. So it's better to round this up. So it's going to be $12.87 per week. And then Nicola's saying, this is why in this case we have a monthly result and we can't divide it just for 4 as we wouldn't take into account that a year has 52 weeks. Exactly. So this is why we have to scale this up to take into consideration all of those weeks. Excellent. So this is going to be our increase per week, just as we saw here. So this one we actually had to scale up. The previous one we didn't. I just wanted to scale it up for whatever reason. Is this one okay? Are all of them okay so far? Because we are reaching our break-even point. And then after this, we'll do our trade-off. Okay. I love Gilbert's enthusiasm, Karan's enthusiasm, love it. Roya, amazing. Okay. Looks cool. Awesome. I love to see that. And if you did a mistake, that is okay. It's very easy to do. So don't worry about that. I don't think your number will be slightly off. It's just if you're scaling this up in like the thousands or the millions, that's when it becomes a pretty big problem. But when you have smaller numbers like this, like if you're working with like $2, it's going to be maybe like $1 or 2 or a few decimals off. The numbers aren't going to be too different. But it's savings you still could have, so it's good to consider. So before we do this, let's add this to our trade-off analysis. I should name these. Let's name this trade-off analysis. Yeah, definitely. Can I explain why we divide by 52 weeks? Absolutely. So just as a recap to do this, we first calculated our machine cost monthly because the units they give us are per month. So we did our 25 times the 2.23, and that gives us our monthly cost. We have to scale this up to yearly because if you're only dividing this by 4, you're not considering the amount of weeks in a year. So you're just saying, split this cost into 4. You're not saying, how much should I distribute this cost against? How many weeks should I distribute this cost by? You're just saying, chop this up into 4 pieces and give me an amount. If we scale this up to yearly and then divide it into 52 weeks, now we're considering the cost evenly among all weeks in the year. Does that make sense? Is that okay? Awesome. Yeah, I think things with units are a little bit odd. You have to kind of go back to your unit conversion, but I don't think it's something that we generally do day to day. Awesome. Okay. Please let me know if that's still unclear because even I messed that one up before. So yes, this is tricky stuff. Okay. So now let's do our trade-off analysis. So our business as usual. What is our business as usual for space for the machine? What is our business as usual? You guys are getting the hang of this. Amazing. You all are doing a great job. Exactly. It's zero because we don't have the machine. If we don't have the machine, then we don't have to store any space for it. We don't have to store it anywhere. And then Effie has a great question. Don't we have to take into account the space we were currently using to store the bubble wrap in our trade-off in an ideal scenario? Yes, that's a great point. I think in this case, it's kind of assumed that maybe we're like sticking our bubble wrap in a space that we're already utilizing for other equipment or anything else. So we might not be losing space for storage of the bubble wrap, or maybe we're receiving the shipments and then immediately using them. But however, this is still something that you should consider. You should consider extra storage costs. You should consider if the machine breaks down. You should consider actually overtime in your labor because most of the cases, you're not just going to have that extra 18.50 an hour. It's going to be a little bit more. So that's a great point, Effie. It's not going to be as simple as that. So exactly. But in the simplified version, we're going to say we don't have any extra storage space. So we don't have any space for our machine currently because we don't have the machine yet. So our business as usual is going to be zero. Now, since this is going to be our weekly, we're looking at weekly, all in the case except for the fixed cost of the machine. What is going to be the cost with our new proposed method? Exactly. Exactly. It's going to be 1287. Exactly. Because we did that handy dandy calculation, we had our monthly cost. We have to scale this up to yearly because otherwise we can't account for every single week in the year. We can't distribute this cost evenly amongst all weeks if we don't. And then we found this to be 1287. So then this is going to be an additional cost. So Arthur beat me to it. Yes, this is going to be negative or minus 287. And instead of calculating this, I'm just going to take this square, I'm going to drag it down and let it do it for me. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so far so good. Are we okay? Amazing. Okay. All right. If anything's unclear, please do let me know. Yeah, you could. You definitely could. Like whenever you see negative, it could be red. So you understand this is a cost. That's a great point, Gilbert. So you can better see what are costs and what are savings. Great point. Yeah, can I see the 1287 calculation again? Absolutely. So I know maybe you just wanted to see it, but I'll just explain it to you quickly. So remember our monthly cost that we were given? It's 25 square feet that we need for the machine. This is 223 per square foot per month. So to do that, we multiply 25 times 2.23 to get our square foot cost per month. Now, we can't just divide by 4 because it doesn't take into account all 52 weeks in the year. So then we have to scale this up to yearly. To do that, we multiply times 12 because 12 months in a year. And then we divide by 52. So then we can get our weekly cost. So we have to scale up to yearly because I can show you the difference. If we just divide this by 4, you can actually see the difference here. So if we divide this by 4, yes, it's not too different, but still we'd have less of a cost. So if you have like numbers in the thousands and millions, that's going to be really, really expensive. Or if you're doing this over like a 10 period or 20-year period, that's going to get expensive. So we need to account for all 52 of those weeks because it drives down our cost a little bit. Yeah, exactly. As Hakeem mentioned, if we just divide by 4, it means we have a year with 48 weeks. Excellent. Amazing. I love the questions. I love the participation. You all are on fire. You're amazing. Now we're going to put it all together. So we actually have this in Excel. So actually, let's do it in Excel. So let's look at our trade-off analysis. We've done all of the costs for our machine, for the space of our machine, for labor, for storage. We've done all of that. And now let's look at our total savings. So if we want to find our total savings, what we can do is, yes, that's a good point. So in this one, we're actually considering our variable costs only. So it's a little scarier if you see our total costs or like our total savings, but I will just show you what it looks like if we do consider the machine. So if we consider the machine, you can kind of do the boring way and just click everything. So I will show you a different way. So if we're doing our variable cost only, not considering the machine, we're going to have a savings of $164.63 monthly. However, if we're including our machine, it gets a little bit scarier. So if we include our machine, or actually I could have just added the cell. Whoops, forgot that was negative. If we include the machine, it's mad because I didn't get rid of that. Then it gets a lot worse. So this is why we're not directly including it, so we can calculate our break-even point. Yes, and we can use our sum. I did that on purpose. We get our practice in. So another way that you can do this is using our handy dandy sum feature instead. If you want to include the machine as well, we can use the formula sum, which is just going to input an array of numbers. And what you do is you click and drag, and then you close your parentheses, and Excel is going to do that calculation with the machine, keep in mind, for you. But this is going to be our savings, not including that first fixed machine cost. So keep that in mind. But that's not a real world scenario. In a real world, the machine's not free. We have to include this price. So we're going to use this to find our break-even point. So our break-even point is essentially when the machine pays for itself. Amazing. I think Patrick already did it. Well done. But the break-even point is when the machine pays for itself. Right now, we're in a bit of a deficit because we had to pay for that machine. But over time, our savings are going to build up and fill that cost that we undertook as an investment. So what I'd like you to do, I know some of you have done it already, is figure out how many weeks is it going to take us to get to our break-even point. Keep in mind, this trade-off analysis is weekly. So how many weeks is it going to take for this savings to be enough to essentially pay for our machine? Amazing. Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be 34 weeks. And well done. I didn't see any like 33s. I saw 33.4, which is great, but it actually won't be 33 because you have to make sure that you're paying off the machine. You can't have anything left over. So let's do this together. So if we're trying to find our break-even point, if you want to be very visual, let's see like the weekly. So we know the machine is going to be, or actually we know the machine is going to be negative 554. So I'll show you kind of a more visual way. Now, every time, every week, or actually this should be like week 1, week 2, and so on. week 1, week 2, so on and so forth. Every single week, we're gaining that savings of $164.63. So we add this here. We take this cell and we add $164.63. And so every time we're going to keep, oops, I need the other cell. Every time we're going to keep adding this savings. We're going to keep, if I can do this correctly, we're going to keep adding this savings. We're going to keep lowering this cost more and more and more. Excel hates me. Let me autofill. Okay, I don't know why it's not happy, but it did it for a little bit. We're going to keep adding the savings. We're going to keep adding this 164. So in this instance, I'm going to take this new cell, and it's going to be this plus 164. And we're going to keep reducing and reducing and reducing and reducing until we get to a break-even point. The way that you figure this out is you take your machine cost. So you take this 5,540, and you divide it by 164.63. So with this, you see you get 33 point, I would round this up to 33.7. Why would I not say 33 is our break-even point instead of 34? Why would I not say 33 instead of 34? Yeah, exactly. It's actually not paid off after 33. Even though you'd have a little bit left over and it wouldn't be that much, you would still owe money. So whenever you're having to do with break-even point, you have to round up. You have to make sure that none of the machine is owed or none of the cost is owed. So you always have to round up. So if we keep adding this forever, or not forever, if we add this about 34 times, you see this is going to get to our positive. We're going to get to our break-even point, and then the machine has paid for itself. But keep in mind, as you all mentioned, we haven't considered a lot of other costs. We haven't considered maintenance. We haven't considered training. We haven't considered overtime. We haven't considered bubble wrap storage. So these are something that you would actually need to include in your more detailed analysis to make sure the cost is as specific as you can get it to be, because you want to consider as much as you can in your trade-off analysis. And then I saw a question before, so where did this 164 come from? So this is just looking at all of our variable costs, kind of just getting rid of our machine here. So I'll delete it just to be clear. So it's showing all of our variable trade-off analysis per week. So we can figure out how much savings will we have per week, and then we can compare it to the machine cost to find our break-even point. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Oh yeah, and so Nicole, I think you're mentioning if we kind of go beyond that 34 weeks, then we can see how much we've saved per year. Exactly. So after that break-even point, you can consider your savings, how much you're saving by using this machine. Exactly. Well done. Amazing. You all have got your data analyst hats on. We have a lot more in store, with much less math and much more formulas. So that might make some of you feel happy, but you all did an amazing job. Just overall, if you have any questions about this, if you're rewatching the recording, if anything that I said didn't really make sense or you're still a bit confused, then please do feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think you'll get the recording 24 hours or so after this, very soon. But yes, any other questions before I hand it over to the C1 team? No questions. Amazing work, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. It was great seeing all of you again.